I want you to imagine something for a second. Picture a life where you never, ever have to do a single household chore again,
Oh, wow.
right? Like, no loading the dishwasher at midnight, no folding endless piles of laundry, no dragging the trash cans to the curb in the freezing rain.
I mean, sign me up. That sounds incredible.
Yeah, it really does. And imagine that you live in a permanent, surprisingly spacious room modeled after a three-star hotel.
Okay, very specific.
Yeah, a three-star hotel. And your meals are completely provided for you. The environment around you is just aggressively serene. And get this, your daily schedule actually includes mandated time for games and dancing.
Mandated dancing. That is something. But honestly, it sounds like an absolute dream scenario for anyone who's just exhausted by modern life.
Totally. But to get the keys to this permanent vacation, there is a massive catch.
There's always a catch.
Always. You have to leave traditional marriage and your entire family behind entirely.
Wow.
Yeah. You walk through the gates of this community and those old ties are permanently severed.
It is the ultimate exchange rate for human happiness, isn't it?
Yeah.
You are taking your closest, most inherent human attachments and bartering them for a completely frictionless, chore-free existence. I mean, stepping into a deal like that requires a complete psychological rewiring of what a normal, fulfilling life is supposed to look like.
Exactly. And that profound trade-off is our focus for today's deep dive. We are examining a really fascinating document from 2012, authored by a man named Xu Feng.
Right.
He basically outlines the creation and the daily mechanics of an experimental community he founded. It's called The Second Home, which also goes by the New Oasis for Life.
It's a very ambitious name.
Oh, definitely. And our mission today is to explore the actual mechanics of this utopian community. Like, we want to look past the grand promises to understand what the day-to-day lives of its members genuinely look like.
Yeah, what's actually happening on the ground?
Right.
Yeah.
And ultimately examine what this highly specific social experiment reveals about our own deep underlying desire for a life without friction. Okay, so let's unpack this.
Yeah, to understand the community, we really have to look at the scale of what Zhu Feng was building.
Right.
By 2012, when this was written, the second home had been operating as a living experiment for about 3 years.
Okay.
It started as a tiny subunit of, about 24 people, but it rapidly expanded into several branches with over 100 total members.
That is pretty fast growth for something so radical.
It really is. And they don't view themselves as just a commune or some intentional neighborhood. The members are actually referred to as Chanyuan celestials.
See, that specific wording, celestials, it immediately separates them from the rest of us.
Oh, absolutely.
It kind of implies they believe they have ascended past normal, muddy, earthly human existence, like they are striving for a higher plane.
Yeah, that's exactly the vibe.
And the foundational blueprint for achieving that higher plane, the core engine of this entire society, is the absolute dissolution of the nuclear family. They are looking at the most fundamental building blocks of human civilization. The bond between a husband and wife or a parent and child, and deciding that those bonds are actually the problem.
Yeah, they strip them away entirely to rebuild community loyalty from absolute zero.
Oh, why?
What's fascinating here is the psychological mechanism behind that rule. Sui Feng viewed traditional marriage and family as the ultimate enemies of a pure soul.
The ultimate enemies.
Yeah, the logic he operates on is this concept of divided loyalties. Like, in a normal society, your primary allegiance is to your spouse or your children, right?
Naturally, yeah.
If push comes to shove, you will hoard resources or time and emotional energy for your immediate kin, often at the expense of the broader neighborhood.
Right, you put your family first.
Exactly. So by completely eliminating those exclusive ties, the individual's love and energy theoretically have nowhere to go but outward, redirected toward the collective group.
Which, it makes me think about the sheer exhaustion of modern family life that would drive a rational adult to take that deal in the first place.
Oh, for sure.
We juggle careers, mortgages, aging parents, childcare, and it often feels like an impossible balancing act. The second home targets that exact exhaustion.
They absolutely do.
But I look at this core premise like deleting the family unit, and I have to question the reality of the emotional trade. It's like moving to a permanent, highly philosophical adult summer camp.
That's a good way to put it.
Are you actually removing the heavy, messy obligations of human relationships? Or are you just trading a familiar, intimate cage for a massive collective one. Like, you leave your spouse at the gate, but now your allegiance to 100 strangers has to be absolute.
Yeah, you're highlighting the invisible weight of utopian living.
Right.
In a traditional family structure, the friction is obvious. You bicker about finances or, dealing with
Oh,
in-laws.
yeah.
In Sufang's model, that specific friction is gone, replaced by this theoretical state of dazzling beauty and happiness.
Yeah.
But the members, these Chanyuan Celestials, they are required to maintain a sunny and natural mental outlook at all times.
At all times.
Yes, everyone is expected to radiate smiles.
Wow.
And when a society demands that level of constant emotional buoyancy, the pressure doesn't just disappear. It just shifts from managing your family's needs to managing your own constant flawless social performance.
Which perfectly sets up what these Celestials are supposedly getting in return for that flawless performance. Because if you are going to abandon your family and just smile constantly, the daily perks need to be spectacular.
They really do.
And this brings us to the actual mechanics of living in the second home. Zhu Fang makes a sweeping claim that would tempt almost anyone listening to us right now. He claims household chores have disappeared completely.
Which is just, wow. He basically identified the daily domestic grind as the most troubling aspect of traditional marriage.
And he's not wrong about that part.
No, not at all. It's the endless cycle of maintenance, right? So the community's solution is absolute professionalization.
Okay, how does that work?
You never argue over whose turn it is to scrub the bathroom, because the community has dedicated systems and roles for all domestic labor. Your basic survival needs are industrialized so that your personal time is entirely your own.
And he is incredibly specific about the standard of living they achieve through this system. He notes that their living standards are actually slightly higher than the global average,
Yeah.
but he focuses heavily on the bedrooms. Every single person gets their own private room, built by the community to the exact standard of a 3-star hotel room.
A very specific standard,
Very, though he is careful to note they are whiter and brighter than an actual hotel.
naturally. But that 3-star hotel benchmark is a brilliant psychological anchor.
How so?
Well, a 5-star resort implies decadent luxury, which is unsustainable and frankly breeds jealousy.
Right.
And a 1-star motel implies poverty. But a 3-star hotel room represents the perfect middle ground of practical utopia.
Oh, I see.
It guarantees cleanliness, comfort, uniformity, and privacy. You have your own serene space, but it's entirely standardized.
Right, nobody has a better room than anyone else.
Exactly. And Zhu elevates this practical setup by describing the community environments as being modeled after the heavenly kingdom. He actually calls them authentic fairylands.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because someone still has to clean those 3-star hotel rooms.
Right.
Chores might be professionalized, but labor is still labor. You have 100 people living in a fairyland. How do you get them to harvest the food and scrub the floors without a traditional economy to motivate them?
Yeah, they don't get paychecks.
Right. So Zhu Feng introduces this concept he calls holographic management. He claims that managing the community is effortless because nobody is lazy, goofing off has vanished, and everyone works willingly every single day.
The choice of the word holographic is incredibly revealing here.
Oh.
Think about the physics of a literal hologram. If you shatter a holographic plate, every tiny shard still contains the entire, complete image of the original picture.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right. So when applied to social management, a holographic system means that every single celestial has fully internalized the goals, the culture, and the rules of the second home.
Okay.
You don't need a manager pacing the fields with a clipboard because the community's mission is just permanently programmed into the individual's mindset.
You know, it sounds suspiciously similar to the culture at massive modern tech campuses.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, those open plan offices where the company provides your meals, your gym, your dry cleaning. They remove all your external friction, so you literally never have a reason to leave work.
Yeah, you just live at the office.
Right. But in those environments, there are no walls to hide behind. Your social performance and your productivity, they have to be on 24 hours a day. So this holographic management doesn't sound like a miraculous cure for human laziness to me.
No, not really.
It sounds like a sophisticated term for internalized, inescapable surveillance. You are your own warden, and your neighbors are your guards.
That is exactly the mechanism at play, and it is far more insidious than, standard high school peer pressure.
Oh, for sure.
In a traditional job, you can complain about your boss to your coworkers. You have a private sphere.
Yeah, you go out for drinks and vent.
Exactly. But in a holographic system, the public and private spheres are completely merged. If the baseline expectation is that everyone works with a radiant smile in a literal fairyland, the social cost of taking a nap when you are supposed to be planting vegetables is astronomical.
Because you're ruining the vibe for everyone.
Exactly. The culture polices itself because any display of reluctance threatens the entire illusion of the utopia.
Well, and if the entire society relies on this unspoken, crushing pressure to maintain a perfect, frictionless smile, the psychological toll on the individual must be immense.
Massive.
Because what happens when someone inevitably snaps under the weight of that expectation? Humans are fundamentally messy. We get tired, we get angry, we make mistakes.
Right, it's just human nature.
But Sufeng claims that crime is non-existent and quarrels are incredibly rare. He says they cultivate an environment where residents live as innocently as children.
Innocently as children.
Yeah, incorporating daytime games and monthly song and dance parties to supposedly maintain this purity.
Cultivating the innocence of children is a highly romanticized goal, but it severely misunderstands the reality of childhood.
Oh, totally. Anyone with a toddler knows that.
Right. Children are deeply emotional, erratic, and prone to conflict. What Sufeng actually means by innocence is compliance.
Compliance.
He wants the docility of a child who implicitly trusts the parent figure. But as you pointed out, human nature cannot be completely paved over by daytime games and wide hotel rooms. The friction has to go somewhere.
Which leads us directly to the inciting incident that tested the absolute limits of this society.
Yeah, the stress test.
Exactly. It's the Lunar New Year. Obviously, this is a massive cultural celebration, a time of high emotion. It's the third day of the holiday. The community is hosting a wine party, and the inevitable happens.
The pressure valve bursts.
Yep. Things get out of hand, and there is a physical confrontation. Someone gets into a drunken altercation, throwing abuse.
Now, historically speaking, a drunken argument at a holiday party with wine is one of the most common human occurrences on the planet.
Right. It's basically a tradition.
Yeah, families deal with this every single year.
Yeah.
But within the fragile ecosystem of the second home, this wasn't just a ruined evening. It was an unprecedented existential crisis.
Because the foundation relies on no conflict.
Exactly. The foundation of their society relies on the absolute absence of conflict.
And the way they handled it, it gave me absolute whiplash reading it. In a normal family, if your brother drinks too much and starts a fight at Thanksgiving, there is a blow-up, there are apologies the next morning, and you figure out how to repair the damage.
Right, you work through it.
You don't execute a permanent excommunication. But in the second home, the very next day, the troublemaker was permanently evicted.
Just gone.
Banished from the fairyland. Sent packing, never to return.
Here we arrive at the fatal flaw of utopian architecture. Because the community demands perfection to function, it possesses absolutely zero shock absorbers for human error.
Zero shock absorbers. I like that.
Yeah, to maintain their serene, chore-free environment, they basically have to operate like an immune system rejecting a transplanted organ at the first sign of trouble. There is no probation, no mediation, no counseling.
You disrupt the harmony, you are exiled.
Exactly. And Shui Feng actually points to this swift eviction as a triumph. He claims it proves that Chanyuan values are widely accepted by the group.
But the paradox there is staggering. Like, he wants everyone to live with childlike innocence, but he enforces it with the ruthlessness of a corporate HR department terminating an employee on their first strike.
Yeah, it's very cold.
A healthy family, which they all abandoned to be there, actually provides the grace required to make mistakes. You have unconditional love.
Right.
In the second home, the love is entirely conditional. Your security, your housing, your meals, everything is contingent on your continuous, flawless adherence to the culture. You are only safe as long as you are perfect.
The shift from unconditional to conditional support changes the very nature of human interaction. When your survival in the community depends on never causing a problem, your relationships become transactional.
Oh, that makes sense.
You aren't genuinely connecting with your fellow Celestials. You are constantly monitoring them and yourself to ensure no one breaches the peace.
That sounds exhausting.
It creates a sterile environment. It is peaceful, yes, but it is the peace of a museum, not a living, breathing neighborhood.
Which is terrifying. And this realization forces us to zoom out from the individual Celestials and look closely at the architect of this entire conditional reality. Like, who is setting these rules and what is his ultimate endgame?
Right. Xu Feng.
Yeah, Xu Feng places himself at the very center of the narrative. Near the end of the document, he explicitly identifies himself as get this, the chief architect of the second home and the guide of mankind's spirit and soul.
Well, claiming to be the guide of mankind's soul is not a title you adopt if you suffer from a lack of confidence.
Definitely not.
He describes his own daily state as simply feeling grateful, striving for creation, and living in absolute happiness.
Must be nice.
Right. While the Celestials are subjected to holographic management and the threat of sudden exile, he has positioned himself at the absolute apex of the hierarchy, just floating above the friction of the society he engineered.
And he has no intention of keeping this contained to 100 people in the woods either. His ambitions are staggering. He outlines a master plan to build exactly 256 subunits worldwide.
256.
At the time of this writing, he had 6 operating in China, but he fully expected dozens to flourish globally in the immediate future. He wants to export this exact model, the dissolution of marriage, the professionalization of chores, the conditional security to the entire human race.
And then, after spending the entire manifesto using ethereal, spiritual language about souls, fairylands, and heavenly kingdoms, he abruptly shifts gears.
Oh, the ending.
Yeah. The document concludes with a sudden, forceful political declaration. He proclaims that living in the second home is stunningly wonderful and follows it immediately with the statement, and I quote, "Communism is perfectly wonderful."
So what does this all mean? The tonal whiplash is just intense.
It really is.
You spend thousands of words reading about Chanyuan celestials and the purity of the human spirit, and then right at the finish line, he drops one of the most historically loaded macroeconomic terms of the 20th century.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we really have to look objectively at how utopian founders utilize language.
Okay, break that down for us.
Without diving into the geopolitical history or endorsing any ideology either way, we can see exactly what Zhu Feng is doing mechanically here.
Right.
He has constructed a microsociety built entirely on the concept of shared resources. Private households are gone. Private kitchens and private washing machines are replaced by collective, professionalized labor.
So it's about the mechanics of the camp.
Exactly. By attaching the label of communism to his 100-person camp, he isn't necessarily engaging with global political theory. He is borrowing the grand vocabulary of a massive historical movement to legitimize his private experiment.
It is the ultimate branding exercise.
It really is.
If he just calls it a chore-free, co-living space, it sounds like a quirky real estate startup.
Like a WeWork or something.
Yeah, exactly. But by co-opting massive political and spiritual frameworks, he reframes his 3-star hotel rooms as the inevitable destiny of human civilization. He wraps a very personal, micro-level desire for control in the clothing of a world historical ideal.
Exactly. Utopian leaders frequently map their highly specific personal visions onto established philosophical or political frameworks.
It gives it weight.
Yes, it gives their followers a sense of immense purpose. You aren't just giving up your family to get out of doing the dishes. You are theoretically participating in the grand elevation of mankind. It masks the severe conditional nature of the community behind a veil of historical importance.
Which brings the entire deep dive back to you, the listener. We've unpacked the grand theories and the daily realities of Zhu Bing's 2012 document, and I want you to think about the scale of the trade-off he is offering.
It's a huge trade-off.
On one side, you have an undeniably seductive proposition. You never clean a toilet again. You live in a bright, wide room. Your physical needs are anticipated and managed by a system so efficient it requires no visible management.
Sounds great on paper.
Right. You are guaranteed a community, daily games, and a life completely insulated from the financial and logistical panics of the modern world.
But the cost of that insulation is total. You must actively sever the deepest ties of traditional human life. You abandon your marriage. You submit to the authority of a self-proclaimed guide of mankind's soul.
Which is a huge red flag.
A massive red flag.
Yeah.
And most critically, you accept an existence where you are perpetually one messy human mistake away from total exile. You trade the unconditional, chaotic love of a family for the highly conditional, sterile security of an institution.
It really makes you look at a sink full of dirty dishes in a completely different light.
Doesn't it?
Like, the friction of daily life is exhausting, but it might also be the anchor that keeps us grounded in reality.
And this raises an important question, one that isn't found anywhere in the pages of the Second Home's manifesto, but one that haunts the edges of every utopian vision we explore. If a society actually succeeds in removing every ounce of friction from human existence, if it professionalizes all our burdens, dissolves our complex family obligations, and completely outlaws the freedom to make a drunken, messy mistake, do we actually achieve a state of stunning wonder?
Hmm.
Or, in our desperate pursuit of a perfectly curated, innocent life,
Mm-hmm.
do we accidentally scrub away the very challenges, the required forgiveness, and the necessary friction that give our individual lives their unique texture and profound meaning?
Wow. That is a phenomenal thought to leave on. If you sanitize the human experience, do you accidentally erase the humanity itself? It is something to seriously ponder the next time you find yourself exasperated by an argument with a spouse or just overwhelmed by a weekend of household chores, because the messiness you are trying to escape might actually be the very thing that makes your life real.
So true.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the flawless systems being sold to you. Keep looking closely at the fine print of anyone promising a perfect world, and we will catch you next time. Oh, and good luck with the laundry today, because unlike the Chanyuan Celestials in their permanent 3-star fairyland, your clothes aren't going to fold themselves.